Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. We're back again today. It's another match preview video, another game for Albion. It's West Bromwich Albion versus Luton Town away at Kenilworth Road in the EFL Championship for a 3 o'clock kickoff this Saturday. I mean, if you'd have asked me whether Luton and West Bromwich Albion would be within a couple of points of each other, a point this season, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But here we are, Luton and West Bromwich. A massive game, really, for both sides. Both sides hoping to mount a playoff push, which seems weird to say that, considering the expectations that a lot of Albion fans, including myself, had at the start of the season. But it's going to be a really interesting game and one that I'm really looking forward to previewing with you here today. Today we'll be chatting through, all the latest team news between both sides, some stats, facts about Luton Town, of course, a bit of an opposition report, along with predicted lineups for both sides, and my sort of assessment of Steve Bruce's reign so far, along with maybe a little score prediction at the very end. But yeah, make sure you stick around for that, and make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel. Obviously, we're still on the lookout for new recruits and new subscribers to help us on our journey into the world of West Bromwich Albion content creation. So yeah, keep subscribing and drop your score predictions and thoughts ahead of tomorrow's game in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. But let's crack straight on. It's Luton Town versus West Bromwich Albion. You're watching the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel. For match previews, match day vlogs, match reactions and more, make sure to subscribe to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel. So let's start with the opposition. It's Luton Town. They'll be looking for a victory after a 3-0 defeat against Birmingham City in their last match. They're 10th in the EFL Championship, just one place below Albion, who are currently in 9th. And before that loss against Birmingham City, they were unbeaten in 5, only drawing 1 of those 5 games as well, winning the rest, winning 4, drawing 1. They have been doing really well this season. You look at the squad they've got, you look at the possibly caliber of players that they've got, and they are absolutely smashing it. It is completely fair to say with the squad that they've got, and playing some reasonable football for it as well. And that's all down to one man and one man only, and that is Nathan Jones, who is doing a fantastic job at Kenilworth Road, really reinvigorating support and starting to really get them up the table in a really good way. So yeah, I think they've done really well, obviously, of course, and worked really hard to get to this position. Their steady incline up through the 92 has been really good to see. Obviously, Nathan Jones, big part of that between 2016 and 2019. Then went and managed, of course, Stoke City for a little bit, but then back at Luton. And you look at their rise through the Football League. League 2 champions. With those back to back promotions as well. So yeah, Luton Town doing really well this season, considering the squad and the quality of players that they've got, and it's mainly down to Nathan Jones, I have to say it, and he's done a fantastic job in his role as manager at Luton as well. You can't underestimate the way that they have overachieved with their side, and absolutely fair play to them. They are doing very well, and yeah, their top scorer is currently Elijah Adebayo, who of course played for Walsall for a spell in his career. I wouldn't say banged him in at Walsall, really. He wasn't a player that really for me set the world alight as somebody who does get the chance to watch Walsall from time to time. Adebayo wasn't the kind of guy who set the world alight and wasn't it was a decent League 2 striker, but he wasn't sort of the player that you look at and go, wow, he's gonna move forward, he's gonna be he's going to be a proper star, destined for Championship football, really. It wasn't really like that, but since being at Luton, he's done a very solid job, and for what was in comparison to the job he's done, a fairly nominal fee, that he's done a really nice job. And of course, 12 goals so far this season is a very good record for a man who is playing only his second season in the Championship. James Bree is the top assister with 5 assists so far this season. He is a former Villa man. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what we can expect from Adebayo, because he's a big guy and a very big talent as well. Certainly proven himself at this level, despite the fact maybe many thought that he might not be a good fit really for the Championship, but he's certainly doing that. They've won possession in the final third, the second most times in the league with 153 times. Albion atop of that chart, but Luton, of course, in second place with that one, winning the ball back several times in the final third, and really anchoring that high pressing, high energy, and starting to, and they're a good organised side as well. Let's not make no mistake of that. Albion atop of that stat, but Luton don't get pulled. They do press, but they don't get pulled apart very easily. They don't tend to really get themselves pulled away from their positions, and certainly remain quite organised in their high pressing. And when they pick the ball up, when try and break on the counter, they've got the most clearances per match with 22.7 clearances per game. They are a good side, and I cannot underestimate how big of a test this is. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game by any means at all. It's going to be difficult, and it's going to be quite an interesting fixture. But there's so many players who you think could slot in this game and cause a real impact. But hopefully, Luton won't be too much of an issue. But you do see them, and you do see them as a bit of a threat, and they were a threat last time out. The Hawthorns when we beat them 3-2. Obviously, we were so comfortable for large periods of that game, 3-0 up, and then all of a sudden they came back with 2 goals. And I think if that game had gone on an extra 10 minutes, we'd have probably ended up drawing that. So. Yeah, I think Luton, they've definitely got a really good spirit, and that's down to probably the manager and the good sort of working spirit they've got amongst the squad. In terms of their squad and what we can expect in terms of a predicted lineup, what we can expect to see on the pitch with Nathan Jones at Kenilworth Road on Saturday. In goal, I go for, this is sort of based off their last lineup and sort of a few changes in there as well. Go for Shea in goal, a back three of Carl Naismith, Reece Burke and Tom Lockyer. Of course, some good championship names in there. I think Reece Burke used to play for Hull. You got Tom Lockyer as well, I think formerly of Charlton, if I remember rightly as well. Then you've got 2 wing backs. So they tend to play a 3-5-2. You've got James Bree, of course, formerly of Aston Villa. Interesting, but yeah. And then you've got Amari Bell from used to play for Blackburn. Didn't quite do as well as we thought there. Then in midfield, 3 of Pelly Ruddock in Panzu. You've also got Henry Lansbury and Alan Campbell, who I think had a very good run whilst playing a few games in the Championship earlier this season, where he scored a few goals on the bounce. Harry Cornick up front, obviously a very technically gifted player, and doing very well for Luton this season, along with Elijah Adebayo, who, of course, as I mentioned, is already a very, very big threat. That's a big, interesting lineup, and hopefully. We can see a good game really, but there's 2, I'd say, fairly organised sides, so it's going to be quite difficult to do so. But onto, of course, our team, West Bromwich Albion. Here on the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel, we do like to talk about the team that we're actually covering here. So, 9th in the EFL Championship. Last time got a 0-0 draw against Blackburn. We're winless in 4 games at the moment. Draw against Blackburn, a loss against Sheffield United, loss against Millwall, loss against Preston North End. So it's not pretty reading. Steve Bruce, of course, has had 2 games in charge so far. So he's hoping for his first victory as Albion manager. In his 3rd attempt, really. So I'll talk a little bit about his start and how I've kind of analysed it and how I've judged it, really. So, Steve Bruce, he's lined up with a 4-3-3 every time, really, a 4-2-3-1 if you like as well. But I'm expecting a change in formation this Saturday. I'm expecting him to change something up. He was very sort of open about that in his press conference after the game against Blackburn, saying, I don't think this is the best way to take this team forward, and I think he's probably right, to be honest. I think that's probably fairly spot on. It's more positive, certainly in his style of play, but ultimately, the lack of support around Andy Carroll, who's been playing up front on his own, has been quite damning, because you've got Andy Carroll who's winning everything in the air, but all of a sudden, these knockdowns and whatnot, they're just not getting reached by Albion players, because they're just not on the same wavelength. Whether they're used to they're not used to playing with somebody like Andy Carroll, whether they're used to playing with somebody who's a bit more weak in the air. So, you've got somebody like Andy Carroll who's winning everything in the air. They don't expect him to win it because they're so used to playing with Robinson or Matt Phillips up front. But I think, it's more positive. But a lack of quality in that final third is really costing Albion at the moment. They're creating, I say, little chances. There was one late on in the Blackburn game which fell to Adam Reach, which you thought perhaps he could have put that one away, but it was cleared off the line. It's becoming more of a smash and grab sort of affair with Albion at the moment. You hope that they can just pick up a victory by scoring a late goal, but in fact that's not what they should do. They should be creating several chances. Like I'd say there were at times under Ishmael where they created so many chances and their XG was through the roof. But Steve Bruce, I don't think can be to blame for the quality of players, but it's his job to certainly try and get the best out of them. And I think he's been getting a more positive reaction out of them, and they certainly look a more confident side. He's definitely that sort of personable figure that was needed in the dressing room after Ismail. But since Bruce took over, 0 goals, 54% possession in Blackburn, along with an XG of 1.46. So certainly some better stats involved in that. But we've out-duelled both sides since Steve Bruce has taken over. So definitely competitive. But, some of the high pressing I actually think has been quite good under Steve Bruce. If you remember in the Sheffield United game, the amount of times that we won the ball high up the pitch, I thought that was really good. And I thought we looked pretty decent. But at the moment, 9th place, this squad is really underachieving. I think the characters of the players is slightly off for some of them. I wouldn't be able to tell you who exactly, but, there are maybe some bad apples in the dressing room that have let maybe Ismail down to some extent. But I certainly think that, Bruce has made them a more confident side, and they definitely are a side that should be doing better than 9th place in the Championship in what I believe to be not the best quality of Championship this season in terms of previous years that we've been in. But it's a predicted 11 for me. Of course, you've got Carl Bartley, who could come back into the side. I'm not sure he will. Maybe. I'd like to see this. I'd like to see Johnston in goal. I'd like to see a 3-5-2, to be honest. I think it'd be better for the side, if we did that. So I'd go for Johnston in goal, Shemi Ajayi, Dara O'Shea and Carl Bartley across the back three. Darnell Furlong and Connor Townsend at the wing-backs. A centre midfield three of Taylor Gardner-Hickman, Alex Mower and Jason Malumbi. And a front two of Andy Carroll and Karlan Grant. So that is what I would go for. Let me know your predicted lineup down in the comment section below. Let me know your opinion, what you'd go for maybe. That's just what I think Steve Bruce might be angling towards. And it'll be interesting to see who he selects. So, yeah, my score prediction, I'm going to go 1-0 Albion. I think it'd be a scrappy goal, corner, and late on in the game. We just need a goal, I think, to boost that confidence and to just eke a win over the line. But, yeah, that's the end of this match preview video. Be sure to drop your comments, score predictions, predicted lineups, thoughts ahead of the game down below. I'll be taking a look and replying to you guys' comments if you drop them down in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.